from Atlanta all the way back over to Houston, Texas, and wherever we need to go across the country. And of course, we've done things virtually too to be able to do that. I see though that I can take a step back because I think that Dr. Goff is on. Am I correct?
Yes, good evening.
Okay, so I am going to step aside and I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Goff, Dr. Jay Goff. Dr. Goff, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Dorsey, and good evening to everyone. I'm joining you tonight from, I'm actually in the heart of Washington, D.C. We are going through, as you may have seen on the news, that we've got some storms coming through tonight. So please feel free to let us know if the internet gets a little bit shaky. But what we're going to talk about tonight are the things that are really important, and that's ways that you can make sure that a college degree not only is attainable, but is affordable. And so in my background, I am the Vice Provost for Enrollment and Student Success at George Washington University, and I've been working in university enrollment and student success programs for just over 30 years. And so what I do and my research work and work is really in terms of helping students understand what are the right types of colleges and universities to help them in terms of making sure that they complete their goals of obtaining a college degree, in terms of getting you into the right track for the career that you want to accomplish, and really making sure that you have a great experience. But a key component for that in today's world is the idea of having an affordable degree as well, because universities can be very, very expensive. So I'm going to drive. I think I can do it. Can I drive the slides forward, or John, do you need to do that for me?
Well, yeah, you want to screen share?
You want me to pull up my slides?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just need it. I just need to have, if you can enable, it's just not letting me share right now. Just a second. There we go. So again, what we're going to talk about this evening is kind of going through some of the core principles of what to think about when in terms of how do you afford a college degree. Now, what we know is that colleges and college can be expensive. But the other thing we know is that there are paths to making sure that it can be affordable at just about any level, and in terms of making sure that you use the right support. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of walk through what I would consider to be some of the critical questions and topic areas that we see when we work with students each year when they're going through the college selection process. The goal for what we always try to talk about is to make sure that when we think about affordability, is to think about is not the idea of being able to necessarily go to college. I mean, is it possible to complete a college degree without accumulating any debt? Yes, there are some ways that which you can do that. But in most cases, some students, and I'm a first generation student myself, I'm the first in my family to complete a bachelor's degree. Most students will find that there are pathways that they can take just a little bit of debt along the way, and which they can pay off. We know that the difference in terms of an individual who, in terms of your earnings potential over your lifetime, if you simply have a high school diploma versus having a college degree, is between $850,000 and $1.4 million in additional earnings each year. I'm sorry, earnings across your entire career. So those are the so the idea of needing to borrow a minimal amount of money to complete your degree is often seen as one of the best investments that an individual can make in their lifetime. If you look in terms of the total payoff, with the average college debt being about $24,000, about $6,000 a year, if you think about over 4 years, that $24,000 in debt on average would pay back, your payback on that would be about $800,000 over your working lifetime. So one of the things that we do is really focus on the idea of what are the things that you can do to keep that debt low, and making sure that you have different options that you can consider. And part of those would be including considering starting at a community college, and also looking at other schools in terms of what their total cost is. So when we talk about tuition free and tuition covered, there are different options in terms of when you see about free or covered aid. And typically when you hear the term free or grant, that means those are funds that you do not have to pay back. And typically what you'll see is you'll hear different, sometimes you'll hear campaigns or programs about free college. And usually what that means is that they will, that there is enough government assistance that will cover the cost, your total cost of going to college. So right now, if you have, and that's usually based on what your family income is. And you have different options, kind of based on where you live. And that could be either looking at a community college or a public university, or even some private institutions will lower your cost. They will give you enough grant aid if you have a high enough an academic profile. They will generally give you enough grant aid where your federal assistance and your student loan will actually cover your entire cost of attendance. And so most students, if they want to make sure that they can go free or have everything covered, the best path to do is to start at a community college, because you can generally, either with the cost of the amount of money that you can earn over the summer, which is usually estimated between $1,700 to $2,900. You can usually apply that and a Pell Grant, which would cover your first 2 years of your college degree, and then typically look at a lower cost public institution. And in most cases, you could probably attend and not have any debt by the time that you graduate. Now, the key piece that we want to always focus on is just really being, is reasonable, and it's looking at those actual costs. And so if you look at the average cost for an in-state institution, if you're an in-state student, so if you live, say, in Missouri, or if you live in Illinois, what you're typically going to be looking at is that your public institutions, your land grant institutions, are going to usually have, for in-state students, your tuition rate is usually going to be around $10,000 to about $13,000 per year. And that's compared to an average cost of about $45,000 to $55,000 at private institutions. And so, the key thing is to really look at not only what the price is at the beginning, but really thinking about is going in and calculating what is your actual cost going to be after your financial aid is applied, because you will receive more financial aid if you go to a more expensive institution. Excuse me. The other pieces that you'll want to look at when you think about looking at low-cost options is looking at the other tuition-free options, is that you will have some states where you'll have options where they have workshop programs, and this is where there's no requirement to give back. And there are some schools, such as College of the Ozarks, that actually where you actually work is a private institution, and you actually work, and they cover, you work at the college, and it actually covers your costs. And these programs will make sure that they cover they'll apply your any state or federal aid that you have. You'll also see that there are states that do have, there are 11 states right now that currently have these types of programs. And there are a number of others that are looking to add these types of programs. And so if you do live in a state where there's not a free option, one of the things, again, that you may want to do is kind of start by thinking about starting at the community college and then working and then transferring to a public four-year institution or a private institution that will cover your total cost of attendance. So there are a number of schools in the country that are what are called city tuition-free schools or colleges. And right now there are over 30 cities that have programs of this type where they have free tuition at community colleges and then they actually transfer to four-year programs. One of those would be where I'm located, which is in Washington, D.C., which is the University of the District of Columbia. So UDC is one of those schools, for example, where there's actually there's actually no cost to going there. You go through their community college program, and then it directly transfers to a four-year program. So that's another option which you may want to consider. When you think about the idea of working your way through college, if you do want to try to avoid as many student loans as possible, that is something that is still possible to do when you look at the total cost of attendance. And like I talked about before, most schools will expect students to apply their summer earnings, student earnings anywhere from about $1,800 to $3,000 a year, but it's also possible to earn more than that. And to use that money to apply towards your degree so that you do not have to take a student loan. And that's one of the things that what we see right now is about 60% of students in college are actually working part-time while they're also taking classes. So there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, the majority of students actually work while they're in college. Another option to think about in terms of paying for college is really, and there's going to be another program on this, I think on Wednesday, which talks about paying through service. And these are, there's a number of federal programs in terms of ROTC. There's also federal programs for loan forgiveness. So if you go into the social services or teaching, where you can actually take loans and the loans will actually be forgiven later as you work, and so later in your life, after you turn 40 years old, they will actually, if you do take loans and you still have loan debt left, they will actually forgive those loans. So there's a couple different service options, and you can learn more about that through this week's seminars. The one thing that we usually we want to make sure is clear is that you understand kind of the nomenclature, the vocabulary, the terms that are used in college financial aid. And specifically, you'll hear the term grant and scholarship, and it'll be used, a lot of times I'll use them in the same manner. The key thing for both of these is that they do not have to be paid back. A grant or a scholarship does not have to be paid back. Usually what you'll hear is that scholarships will be used for merit-based. In other words, the scholarships are based on academic performance or some type of special skill or ability. So if you're a musician or you're a performer or you're a student athlete. So usually that's when they talk about merit, that's what a merit scholarship is. Grant scholarships are usually based on your financial need, and that's where they look at the cost of attendance at the school. What is the tuition? What is the room and board, books, personal expenses, travel expenses? What is your total cost of attendance? And then they compare that to your family's income level, and then they can calculate kind of what the expected contribution that your family can contribute. And then they will provide you with a grant often to match or make up the difference between what your family can contribute and the remaining amount of cost. So additionally, what you'll see is that there will be different rules for scholarships and grants, but that's generally what the difference is. And so those are really good things because you don't have to pay those back. Now, the idea of like what I talked about in terms of financial need and this idea of the EFC, the expected family contribution. This is the formula that you'll hear about when you fill out the FAFSA to the free application for financial aid, because this is you fill out the FAFSA so that each school can determine what is your expected family contribution. In other words, how much does the government formula say that your family should be able to contribute? In these calculations, what you'll see is that they will take in, they'll look at many different factors. They'll look at the cost of where you're going to school. They'll look at your family situation. In other words, how many individuals in your family are going to college at the same time. And there's some things that they can do to look at any special or extenuating circumstances. What this will result in is that if you do have a certain level of need, and generally if you have a family, if your family income is below 60,000, you can qualify for what is called a Pell Grant. And a Pell Grant is a federal grant that will cover up to $6,000 per year. And that's, again, that's a grant, so you do not have to pay it back. And that's based on if you have demonstrated need, and it only goes towards your first degree, your first bachelor's degree. You have to be a US citizen, and you have to have a high school diploma and a GED, and be under the age of 24. Typically what we'll see is about, at most schools, about 20 to 25% of students will at least qualify for a Pell Grant. So filling out the FAFSA is a wonderful thing to do, because especially if you want to find out about getting, for that grant money. The maximum amount of the Pell Grant will actually be going up in this next year. So there will be an increase in the Pell Grant amount. So there will be some additional money made available. It will also be available for summer classes, which is starting this year too. So if you do want to go year round, there can be some additional Pell Grant money available at that time as well. The easiest way in terms of applying for the grants is that you'll have to complete the free application for student federal aid. And if you do have questions about how to do that, there is a 1-800 number here that you can call. But the best thing to do is to contact the Student Financial Aid Office at any, if there's a college or university that you're looking at, the best thing to do is to contact that school and talk with the financial aid office. They will have a financial aid counselor who will explain to you what the process is. If you have questions, they'll meet one-on-one with you and your family and kind of walk you through what to do. And they're happy to do it. They do it all the time. And quite frankly, you'll find that they'll be able to kind of give you the ins and outs and tell you, make sure that you're hitting all the deadlines. Generally, you can start submitting your high school senior year. You can apply for the FAFSA starting October 1st. And so it happens a lot earlier than most people are expecting. Excuse me. The other, there are other federal grant programs that you can qualify for, and special award programs. And again, those, it depends on what school you go to, but you do have to submit the FAFSA as well to be eligible for those other federal grant programs. Now, there are some what they call supplemental educational opportunity grants, the SEOG or the federal SEOG grant. And these are for if you have a significant financial need. Again, each school is allowed so much of this type of SEOG grant money. And so once you apply to the school and submit your FAFSA, they'll let you know if you can qualify for this grant money as well. Now, there are some special programs in terms of teach grants, and there are some special programs in terms of if you study in certain areas, such as STEM areas, in terms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so if you are interested in these programs, what we suggest that you do is, again, make sure that you declare your major and let the schools know what program that it is that you're applying for. So these, so basically this is kind of the overview, and the real starting point for student aid is really using the federal programs and the federal aid programs. And if you do have, if you're going to create a bookmark for a specific site to get information or have your questions answered, studentaid.gov is the best site to start with, and really will help you get going. But again, the one thing I think that a lot of times the kind of the inside secret is make sure you talk to the financial aid office at the schools that you're looking at, whether it's a community college or if it's a four-year university. They will have individuals there that are specifically, that will be able to help you and answer specific questions for you kind of right off the bat. And those can be, really is the helpful people to start with. But submitting that FAFSA at the beginning is critical to doing this. If you do that, that will, like I said, it will maximize your opportunity to lower the amount of student loans that you may have to take, but also make sure that you can attend the type of institution that you want to go to. One of the things is that my university, George Washington University, is very expensive. It's one of the more expensive schools in the country. But what we do is we have financial aid that's available for students. And so if they do fall into a lower income status, but they're admitted to the university, generally we'll be able to meet 90 to 100% of their unmet needs. So after the family contribution is made, even though our total cost of attendance is almost $80,000, we generally, through grants and through scholarships, can make up about 90 to 100% of that gap. And so it's worthwhile to go ahead and apply to the schools that you're most interested in, and then see what the financial aid package that they offer you can be. So you're not limited to just looking at community colleges or certain free programs. A lot of times, if you're okay to just take a minimum amount of debt, costs that would be even less than what a new car would cost. Typically what you'll be able to find is that if you're willing to do that, you can pretty much attend almost any school in the country that you want to go to. But it is important to look and see what the different programs are at each school. So at this time, I'll just go ahead and open it up for questions about the process and the program.
Dr. Goff, thank you so much for making sure that you are providing all of that information to our students and their families about the financial options that they have there. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and I probably want to add to this too, is that the schools have a certain acceptance rate. They only have so many scholarships and so many grants that they're able to give out. So my thought process is that we recommend to the students to apply to multiple colleges. Yes, you have your top choices, okay? And George, you can, jump in on this too, but make sure that you got several different options and don't just limit yourself to like one or two.
I think that's, Dr. Dorsey, I think that's a great point. Is, what we see is that when we look at students that are applying, most students will apply to three to six, colleges or universities, just so that they can kind of see what their different options are. And I think that's a really smart way to go about it. George, good to see you. I'd be interested to kind of see what your take on that would be.
Well, Jay, I think you shared a lot, and Dr. Dorsey, to address that, I would agree that students should definitely be looking at multiple schools. We never want to put all of our eggs into one basket. We want to explore as many opportunities as possible. That's the great part of getting so much information during your junior year, is to allow you to kind of do your own research and kind of figure out which direction you want to go into. But my experience, I've seen students apply to as many as 20 or more schools. I don't recommend that many. That's a lot to really have to manage. I typically would tell students when I was on the road and speaking with students at various different schools and college fairs, probably to have at least anywhere between that 3 to maybe 8 schools. If you have some schools that you're looking at perhaps maybe different types of institutions, small, private, liberal arts, larger, public, Catholic, Jesuit, historically Black college universities. You explore. If you can take advantage of the common application where you can apply to multiple schools at one time, certainly take advantage of that if possible.
Okay, that's great. I agree with all of that. One of the things that I know that we get questions about all the time, and George, you're monitoring our chat, and I don't know, we have this question here, but I know we hear it from students, okay? And I know this is a great debate, so I'm just sort of like want you guys' idea here. One of the biggest things is that when we talk about scholarships that are merit-based scholarships that have to do with grades and things of that nature, there's a thought process that students don't need to take the ACT or SAT. However, the scholastic scholarships are still, some of them at some of the schools are still looking at those scores, for that. So your recommendation to students regarding ACT and SAT, especially our juniors? Dr. Goff?
Yeah, so my institution, so George Washington University was one of the first universities to offer test optional admission to students, which means that you can you can either, when you apply for admission, you can submit test scores, ACT or SAT scores, or you can elect to apply for a holistic review, which means that we'll look, you'll enter essays and a portfolio, almost a resume, so that we can go through and kind of look at you holistically, see the classes you've taken, how rigorous has your college prep work been? What is your involvement in the community? What leadership roles and things have you taken? What we see is a little bit more than half of our students still submit test scores, and the other thing that we see is that for scholarships, and what we see at other test optional schools, is that you'll for the merit scholarships, you'll still see a little bit heavier leaning towards where the scholarship dollars will go to a student that has submitted test scores. Now, that doesn't mean that if you apply test optional that you couldn't get a merit scholarship. We give merit scholarships for test optional students as well. But it is a way to kind of, submitting those test scores is a way for you to kind of demonstrate what, kind of what your abilities, your ability levels are. So, sometimes what students will ask me is that, is there a disadvantage? Am I disadvantaged if I submit a test score? You're actually not. It can only help you. It really cannot hurt you. And so that's kind of the perspective that I take with it, is that, there's nothing wrong with applying test optional, but taking the exam, you can wait until you get the scores and then decide if you want to submit the exam, the scores later, if that's important to you. But you do have the option to apply test optional or submit test scores, either way. George, I don't know, do you have a different take on it?
I do not. I think you hit the nail on the head, Jay. I would not add anything to what you shared. So.
Okay, gentlemen, since we're talking about test optional, and Dr. Goff, you were talking about the holistic idea of a portfolio. Okay, in your experience, the both of you, how important is that student essay that we write? Okay, as a former university professor, one of the things, and I'm sure you all can attest to this, we have a tendency to see that a lot of our incoming freshmen don't have extremely good writing skills. And so the essay is always a way of introducing themselves to the college and to the university and what it is that they're about. Okay, so your thought process on making sure that students can write a good college essay and being able to submit that essay with their portfolio. George, I'll go with you first on this one.
Sure. I've always found the essay is extremely important. It allows the student to tell their own narrative about themselves, about experiences, about what they've learned in school, as well as in other activities they're involved in. It allows the admissions representative who's reviewing that application an opportunity to really get to know you if you haven't had an opportunity to really engage with them. So it's just another way to add an additional layer for the admissions office to consider when working with an applicant. Certainly, it's not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. It's not only going to allow that admissions office to say, hey, this student has something unique to share with us, but it also validates that the student has that capability to tell their own story, and they feel certain that, hey, this student is going to be successful not only at our institution, but then also in our courses, especially the English composition types of courses that a student might jump into their freshman year. Jay, you had something you wanted to add to that?
I think that, yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. The different schools, different universities will weigh the essay, differently, but in terms of how heavily it applies in the admissions process. But I think what George is saying is exactly right. This is a chance for you to tell us about, for you to tell the college about, what it is that you do. What are your skills? What are your gifts? How do you use them? And what do you want to do with them? A lot of times, I think sometimes students don't realize. So my university will receive 27,000 applications every year for 2,500 seats in the first year freshman class. And what we have 3 people read each essay. And we actually have 3 short essays as part of that application process. And when we do that, we also code the different areas that you're involved in and the activities. We write different notes for that. And so sometimes there are sometimes we'll have a donor or a scholarship that will come up for a student who's has a special interest or is involved in a certain activity. I'll tell you one that came up was most recently we had a donor who gave money because they were interested in students that were entrepreneurs. If you had started a community organization or had started a business while you were in high school. So what we did was we went into the essays and we did a keyword search, and we found the students who brought that up in their essays. And so if they told us about themselves in their essay, that all of a sudden we had a group of students who were eligible for a scholarship that they didn't even know existed. We didn't even know it existed. And so that's where it's really important to try to make it be personalized, make it be, really reflect what's important to you and what you want to do in your life.
Okay, great. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. I want to be able to, in the last about 15 minutes we have, be able to provide our students and parents that are on with some additional resources that we have here available that we were going to discuss tonight. So Mr. Meadows, if you would probably bring up my PowerPoint for me. I'm going to share right quick several other resources that we have. As John is doing that, Dr. Goff, thank you again so very much for being here with us tonight. George, thank you so much. I hope that you all will stay on, and as I go through this and be able to answer any of the questions or whatever that we continue to have in the chat. Okay, so thank you. Again, I'm Laura Dorsey, and I'm the Vice President of Mission and Engagement for the Infinite Scholars Program. And as the Infinite Scholars Program, we have several different sources that are available, also additional resources that are available. One of the things that I learned as a professor is that some of my students are visual and some of them are auditory. They're going to listen to a lecture, and some of them think that they need to have things that they can see. So let me show you from an Infinite Scholar standpoint, some of the different resources that you can actually touch upon. Okay, so Infinite Scholars, like I said, is a 501c3. And if you visit our website, it's www.infinitescholar.org. And that will be in the chat. Mr. Winston will put that in the chat, www.infinitescholar.org. If you go into our website and you download it, there is on the main page is a resources tab. That's what I'm giving you, resources. And one of the resources is the scholarship guide. So if you click on that resource, Okay, this is a scholarship guide. This is 40 pages of information that we print every year that we give to juniors and seniors with additional scholarship information that they can have at their fingertips or whatever that's going to provide them information. Inside this guide, some things that you really want to know. Okay, inside this guide, Dr. Goff talked about federal grant programs. There's an extremely good explanation about the federal grant programs. Okay, he talked about all the state and the city tuition-free options. Again, we have a list of some of those states that he was talking about, the 11 states that have tuition-free options. We have some of them there. We talked about working your way through college. There is a list of some of the different grants that they were talking about that you can get, that you can use as you're working your way through college, and some of the free colleges that are there too. Paying for college through service. One of the options that we have too, along with everything else, is the military, and we'll be able to look at that. In addition, George Winston, when we talked about earlier, talked about being a teacher. And as a teacher, this is particularly important to me. If you're looking at teaching in certain areas, and as Dr. Goff would say, there's a loan forgiveness program for being able to teach, you know, in particular areas. And it's not only teaching, there's all kinds of different programs that have that going on too. Okay. Micro scholarships are scholarships that you can get right now while you're in high school. So if you're a junior in high school, you can actually be getting scholarships, scholarship aid and information right now while you're a junior. That option is in the scholarship guide. A great resource to check it out. There are scholarships, as Dr. Goff would say, just because you need it, and special interest scholarships. It is funny because there's a whole list of scholarships, and I'm sure Dr. Goff would attest to this. There's scholarships if you're tall. There's scholarships if you're short. There's scholarships if you play sports. There's scholarships if you have there's scholarships if you collect, you know, if you collect pet rocks, you know, whatever it is, there's a whole range of special interest and need-based scholarships. A lot of times students will know where they want to go to school. They just need the additional resources, and this provides you with that. Dr. Goff talked about the essay and how they got 3 people reading your essays from a different perspective. Okay, we've got tips on how to write a winning scholarship essay. There's all kinds of information out there about it, but we've narrowed this down to like 1 page of tips that you need to know to write with a winning essay. Okay, one of the things that we absolutely want to know, you've seen it in the news and you've heard it, and I'm sure that either Dr. Goff and George Winston could tell you about all the different scholarship scams that have out there. If somebody is charging you money to be able to get a scholarship, that is a scholarship scam. That is not anything else out there. And we're going to make sure that we provide you with that information. You should not have to pay anybody to help you find a scholarship. There's plenty of information out there on your own. One of the things that we also wanted to do is making sure that colleges like, you know, Dr. Goff's college, like George Winston's college, is out there. So what we have also is a college video library. And what we've done is that we have access to about 100 colleges that travel with us as we travel across the country for our scholarship fairs. And we've asked each of these colleges to be able to put a video out there. And so I know how this new generation likes social media, and they like videos and things of that nature. They're very, very visual. Well, if you go to this website, there's a list of 100 colleges there that will provide all of the information about their scholarships and about their college and how to be able to access this. A lot of times we understand it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And with this resource, you can have direct access to the college reps who are actually out there recruiting students. We've got 100 videos out there, and they've got admissions information, they got scholarship information. As Dr. Goff said, this changes on a regular basis, but you also always have information to be having access to that particular college. Okay. You can, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is making sure that you have access to the college reps. So with the information that we're providing you, you can call and talk to a college rep one-on-one. They give you their email address, they give you their cell phone number, they'll give you their family's number. College reps are always dedicated to what it is that they're doing. As George Winston and I said earlier, we're in it for the long haul. Most of us have been doing this for over 20 years. All of the colleges are listed in alphabetical order. We loved all of the colleges. We have 100 of them. How do we list them? We list them in alphabetical order. And as you can see, we'll list the college, we'll list a little bit of information about them. And then you'll see there's a link there to be able to schedule a one-on-one interview with a particular person at that scholarship. And they've got 3 to 5 minute videos up there. Some of them like talking, and I did interviews for them. So some of the videos are 30 minutes, but there's plenty of information out there to be able to provide you a whole litany. Like, you know, as George and Dr. Goff said, you're only going to, you know, from 3 to 8 colleges there, but I got 100 right here that you can start with. Also, Dr. Goff was just talking about the videos that he was talking about, the federal financial aid and being able to understand that. Federal financial aid is like your taxes. That is just something that most people don't necessarily understand. And so we have a topic video library that's got all kinds of different topics out there, because again, I know that my students are visual and they like those little short snippet videos. And so we have a library of topic videos. Now, included in this topic video library are, okay, there's the FAFSA overview. He talked about the FAFSA, how important it was. Guess what? If you miss anything he said, there's a 3 to 5 minute video to talk about that. Okay, we talked about testing, whether or not you should test. Okay, again, another resources, a quick 3 minute video. Christina does a great job on talking about test optional. Okay, there's all different types of student aid. Dr. Goff gave you a whole list of them, okay? And in case you missed anything that he said, okay, you can go in. Here's another video that will explain it to you too. It's a quick video. Okay, a lot of you will be looking for additional, you know, scholarships, for private scholarships that you go in. Like I said, you know exactly what school you want to go to, but you're looking for different money. There's all kinds of websites. We've done the work for you and we've narrowed it down to like 3 websites that you should use to search for private scholarships. Scholarship displacement is a word. And again, you know, Dr. Goff will tell you and George will tell you, and that it's important for you to be able to talk to your financial aid office. They need to be your very best friend. After your admissions counselor, your finance counselor needs to be your very best friend. But they will know in order what scholarships take place, what scholarships will kick you out of other scholarships. You need to watch out for scholarship displacement. And so that's an important aspect too, okay? Being responsible when you're borrowing. Dr. Goff said there may be some debt. Don't discount that there may be some debt, but again, if you're going into a career field that's going to be able to pay you a significant amount of money, that debt is going to be minimal compared to the return on investment that you're going to have. So responsible borrowing is there. Okay, and one of the other things that he talked about and we insist on is the benefits of community college. Don't sit on, you know, don't sleep on what community college can offer as a benefit to you. And these are all 3 to 5 minute videos that will show you all of this information, and it's all out here at our website, and we've done all the research to be able to give this to you. I want to be able to say that not only do we have a list of resources, we have people in our camp that are doing resources too. So John Meadows, who started us off today, will come back and give you a brief overview. Again, we're being respectful of your time, and so we've got a few more minutes left. There is a fantastic resource that we have called More College Offers. It's called that because guess what? They offer more scholarships and more colleges. And so John, if you'll tell our audience a little bit about More College Offers.
Thank you, Dr. Dorsey. Gosh, it was a great program. Thank you, Dr. Goff and George. My gosh, it was just incredible programming tonight. I was a little worried at first, but you guys pulled it out. This is really, you hit it over over the fence for sure. So thank you very much. Yeah, really, More College Offers is a website we developed about 3 years ago, and it's really done really well as far as helping students connect with colleges. It's a free site. Students can register for free. And there's about 500 colleges on our site on More College Offers. And basically, it's like a big search engine where you go in, enter your information, and colleges search that data. And, they find students they're looking for, and they will reach out to you with different offers, either for admission or scholarship, or just want to know more about you. So it's a really good program. It's very secure. You don't have to worry about privacy issues or compromising your information. So make it really short. Just go to morecollegeoffers.org or .com, excuse me, it is a .com site, morecollegeoffers.com. Go in, register as a student. And again, there's profile information, but you'll set a password. It'll send you, ability to set a secure password. Then go in and make sure you update this information, particularly if you're juniors and as you get information, change your minds as far as what you're looking for and various things. And you can go in and make those changes so that when colleges are searching your data, then they can, have a better feel for what your current situation is and how you might match their needs, okay, as far as what they're looking for. So a lot of opportunity out there. Again, it's a really good program. It's a big search engine that will connect you with potentially, at least get your information out to over 500 colleges that are in our network. And all those colleges are listed on the site, so you can go in and see all the different colleges. They're organized by state and shows you different colleges by state as far as the ones that are participating in the program. So let's go on to we'll kind of wind up. We're getting kind of long tonight, so appreciate your patience, and I'm going to see if I can advance the slide. I want to get into future programming this week. And we'll wind up with some chat. Looks like we have a couple of chats in there that maybe, I don't know if we've answered them yet, but we'll try to answer those before we finish up. But tomorrow night we have winning private scholarships, micro scholarships, and websites for search for scholarships. So again, really the purpose of virtual scholarship fairs is really to focus on scholarships, various kinds. Again, there's a lot of different kinds of scholarships, different ways of paying for college, but hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have everything covered, and then we'll be adding additional programming throughout the year and really hitting it heavy in the fall whenever you're really serious about, trying to make that selection. So there's a lot of last minute decisions you have to make, and we can help you with that, and how to evaluate scholarships. We'll help you with that. And, how are you going to evaluate different funding packages that colleges are offering you. So we'll be providing you information throughout the year to help guide you and answer any questions you might have through that journey that you're about to go on. Wednesday, our topic is paying for college through service and are working your way through college. We have a great representative from Florida that's going to be here from one of the university's ROTC programs. So we'll hear his advice and how to maybe military service is a great option. There's a lot of money in the military service, in ROTC and various other programs that they have to offer. Thursday, where test scores do matter, and we talked about that this evening, which is really valuable discussion, because that's a lot of students I don't think see the value in testing that they need to, and hopefully we'll dispel some of the myths that are out there, and we'll give you tips on how to improve your scores, because you can take your test multiple times, so you really need to take that into consideration. You don't feel that your scores are quite adequate for what metrics need to be met for scholarship, then there are ways to improve that score. So we'll go over some tips on that. On Friday, how to write a winning scholarship essay. Again, we talked about that this evening. It's very important. So we will have that topic discussed on Friday. How to avoid scholarship scams and watching out for scholarship displacement. That's scholarship displacement is really important. That's something that you would need to be aware of whenever you're evaluating offers from various colleges, because that can happen if you're not careful. Sunday, our last program is, community college. Jay talked about it. Dr. Goff talked about it. Community college is a great option for a lot of people. And, I went to community college for 2 years, went to, got my undergraduate in 2 years at a major college. So I saved a lot of money. I stayed at home and was able to save a lot of money and came out college debt free. So it's a really good program for me personally. I do agree with that track for a lot of people. So anyway, do we have any Q&A or chats that we need to address? Looks like we have a couple. Laura or George, you want to, any of them
Yeah,
that we haven't?
I believe we addressed, there was one very early on. Can we post the recording to the website? I believe that you answered that would be happening later on.
Yes, it will be.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the plan. We will be posting it not only on this website, Virtual Scholarship Fairs. It does take a while to get downloaded and edited and, all that stuff. So I'd say within a couple of days, we'll have it live or posted on our websites. We'll have one posted on Virtual Scholarship Fairs. If you go to the website, Virtual Scholarship Fairs, that you came to for this event, and you go to organizations and you click on that, then there's 3 different booths, one for infant scholars, one for college offers, and one for Virtual Scholarship Fairs. So we'll be posting it both on Virtual Scholarship Fairs as well as Infinite Scholars website. Okay.
The second question was also addressed earlier. Are there loan forgiveness programs for teachers if they agree to teach in urban school districts? I believe both Dr. Dorsey and Jay mentioned that there are loan forgiveness programs out there specifically for teachers. Dr. Dorsey did indicate that information can be found on the Infinite Scholar website. There is some information there for them. So please refer back to the website for additional information. And if you're not able to find that information there, then certainly you can reach out to Dr. Dorsey, or you can reach out to the contacts here with this particular program, and they will be happy to get you that information.
Great. Dr. Dorsey, you have any closing comments?
No, I would like to give our esteemed panelists who are here tonight, a chance to give, a last minute 30-second soundbite. So Dr. Goff, we're going to start with you. You were our guest speaker tonight. Any closing remarks that you have for our guests and panel?
Well, I want to thank you all for the invitation and hanging with us. I you probably could tell I was having a little bit of an allergic reaction there go on. So thank you for sticking with me through that. The one thing I would say is I hope comes through clear is that there are many different options. There are 4,200 post-secondary institutions, colleges, universities in the United States alone. And one of the things that you'll find is that the right school is the one where you feel most comfortable, that offers the degree program that you want to study and create and can put together a financial aid package that you feel comfortable with. I hope you get across the idea that there are low cost and very minimal debt options for you if you want to kind of put those pieces together, but also realize that that's not a reason to not look at schools that cost more. Like I said, institutions like my own, which is over $80,000 a year. If you are admitted and you have financial need, in most cases, like I said, we'll be able to meet about 90% or sometimes even 100% of the unmet need after your family contribution, if you're willing to work a summer job and apply your earnings towards that. And so if you're willing to take a little bit of student loan debt, less than what the average new car loan is, there's no reason that you can't attend the school that you really desire to go to. Please consider that, and don't eliminate your options just because you see a large sticker price. That the schools will work with you and hopefully be able to make the school that is the best fit for you, one that is also affordable.
Thank you, Dr. Goff. George, last minute comments for our guests?
Absolutely. Just quickly, invest in your future. Spend time developing questions that are unique and specific for you and what you're wanting to do. Do not waste your time. Invest, ask those questions of every individual that you speak with at a particular college. Have a set of questions that you ask them, see how they respond to each of those questions, compare, contrast, find the best match for you, and then make your dream come true. Do not wait for anyone to give it to you. Go out there and take it.
George, thank you thank you so very, very much. That is just a key. I am a firm believer, you know, as an educator with both these gentlemen, that college is the gateway to your future. Okay. And only you can open up that gateway to your future, because you're the one that's going to be sitting in class. You're the one that's going to be taking the classes. You're the one who knows exactly where you want to go and what you want to do and what it's going to take for you to get there. So, John, I will just thank everyone for being here. I think that we have been respectful of everybody's time. We're a little bit, you know, over time, but we got started a few minutes late. Thank you also for being very patient with us with all the technical difficulties. That's the world that we live in now, with technical difficulties. Again, gentlemen, thank you all very much. And again, thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've got another list of topics and guest speakers and panelists that'll be here tomorrow. And I will be here too. So we'll see exactly what we're going to do tomorrow. So thank you all very much for taking the time out to spend the evening with us today.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.